Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. I'm Tamera Loerzel, and with me is my partner, Jennifer Wilson. And we're excited to be with you again this bright week in February. We thought we would continue our discussion and really our ongoing learning and exploration of AI and specifically ChatGPT and some uses that we're hearing firms, how they're embracing it, how their team members might be using it, how HR professionals are using it. Maybe, some things to watch for, but more, how do we encourage people to go out and play with it and try it? I think that's what we've been doing and encouraging our team members to do so. Part of our learning is we have a webinar on Friday on the topic. So it's fresh in our mind, I think, which is one of the reasons that I suggested we talk about this today, but it's something we want to continue to follow and, make sure that, people are embracing it. And for sure, I think where I would start is not afraid of it. I think, Jen, we still hear people are afraid of it or wanting to minimize it or worried about the risk and not figuring out how do we be enablers and instead just saying no. And maybe it's no, not now, but it's still a no. So I don't know if there's anything from a big picture setup that you want to add to that about what you're hearing, Jen. But those are some of the things that I'm still hearing that maybe we can figure out how do we be more enablers.
Yes. Well, so yeah. AI, generative AI, is scary, can be scary. So, Tamara said, don't be scared. I think it's healthy to be a little bit in awe. We're teaching a webinar this week, Friday, and on the subject. And Samantha and I were preparing earlier today for it, and she has a quote that she put in the PowerPoint that talks. I'm not going to tell you exactly the quote, but it's something like, new technology cannot be distinguished, if it's really good, cannot be distinguished from pure magic. And I love the quote. I just love the idea that really awesome technology is magical. And if you think about, the last awesome technology that we've all probably experienced, I don't know, probably smartphones, becoming little handheld computers that we can use constantly. And it is like pure magic. It's like I can work on my tiny little handheld now in such a significant way and stay in so close a touch to everybody. So AI is magic. And yet it can be learned and it will evolve and it will normalize and it'll become less scary. In the meantime, it's already been embedded in a lot of apps on our phones, and we've been using it like crazy. Maps. I use a restaurant app. I travel. It knows my preferences. It, feeds me suggestions. My weather app is totally bossing me around with AI. All
our shopping sites.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, all of it.
Yeah. So we've been using it, and yes, there are privacy considerations and all that stuff, and we can talk about that. But I tell people, I don't care how old you are. I really don't. I don't care how close to retirement you are. You have to learn AI, and you have to learn AI through what's the least expensive and fastest way to learn it, by playing with ChatGPT. You just have to do it, and you could be retiring. You're still going to use AI. It's going to be in everything that we're doing, in every app, every technology. If you want to pay bills in retirement, or if you want to, access information about the movies near you, you're going to have some sort of queries and prompts and other things available to you for a level of depth and analysis that you just haven't had. And I just was thinking about, I'm an Oscar fan. And I try to see all the Oscar movies, if I can, that are nominated for Best Picture. And I recently went out and did with my daughter, a big search without thinking about ChatGPT about which ones had what kind of Rotten Tomatoes ratings. And because there's some that I just can't stomach, so I wanted to find, the ones that weren't going to be too rough. And ChatGPT could have told me all that. I wasted my time. And I thought about it later, and I went back to my daughter and was like, hey, you should have told me that we should have used AI. But that's such a goofy reference I'm giving you. But there are so many ways that that application can apply to our lives and to our businesses. And it can apply to our businesses for business process purposes, for information understanding and learning purposes, for the development of documents, and then for technical purposes. And it's very exciting. And so I think be scared, be in awe, get in there and play with it anyway.
Right. I love the be in awe, Jen. I think that's just such a great, frame of mind to approach this from. And you're not going to break anything. I mean, you can do the searches, you can do the queries and choose not to use any of it. But if you go and see what I'm in awe of is the speed at which it feeds us back information when you put the queries in there. And you did that Google search, and like, how much time does it take to click on everything and search? And it will feed it all to you in a second. And that's what's incredible. And so you could ask it HR questions. You could have it generate templates, that you are creating in HR, or your, best work practices, or, work remote guidelines, or job descriptions. You could use it to write, blogs, get the framework. Now you do have to be careful and double check information. I mean, you do have to be smart about it. So I have to verify information. I have to verify because it doesn't, provide sources, but it can be a great start for you to know where to look instead of that hunting and pecking and, scrolling through everything that we do with Google. Google was amazing and still is amazing when it was invented because we had that at our fingertips. And now it's even faster to be able to build on. So yes, I think playing with it, be in awe with it, go ask it questions, and then figure out it's like a launch point. If you use it as a launch point for so much of what we're doing, it can just be incredible.
I agree. And so, uses in your firms. I saw the case where State of the Accounting Profession 2024 survey, and I haven't had a chance to fully read it, but I did scan it, and they did ask questions about generative AI and firms' plans for using it. And there were definitely significant, I think 10% or so said they were using it. And I was not in awe of that.
We want that number to go up.
Yeah. But a significant percentage, maybe a quarter or so, a good number, we're planning to make significant AI investments in 2024. And I'd have to dig around in the survey to give you the data. And I recommend that you download that survey. I don't get anything for saying that, but I have found it to be very informative on both talent and technology. And so anyway, folks are planning to get in here and use it. And so as HR professionals, we should be just making sure our people, when we talk about leveling up our skills, we talk about getting ready for the next paradigm or the transformation or evolution of our organizations and our firms. Part of it is upskilling our people to play with tools like ChatGPT. And then, there are more significant fee-based tools, Gen AI tools, and there are certainly tools that are going to be embedded in certain of our applications, like Copilot in our Microsoft suite. If you're using the Microsoft suite, we're going to find that there's going to be some of these tools at the ready. So we're not necessarily saying ChatGPT is the end all. It's just a great playground. It's free if you use the 3.5 version and $20 a month for the 4.0 version. And so pretty easy to get involved there and start playing. Now, Tamera said you can't break it. You can make mistakes. And one of them is to put confidential information, in people's names, people's, financial data, anything confidential or private, we would not want to put in there, those details. To have it summarize a termination letter, let's say, we'd want to be very careful. But to say, hey, I do have to terminate somebody and I need to get a signed release ahead of that, could you please write me a signed release letter? with the following conditions, and you don't give the details of the person's name or their, even your firm name, then you could get a really great, template to begin with. And, that's an example or a use where you don't have to make the mistake of giving it private information. And the reason is that ChatGPT doesn't discern that private information as private. It doesn't discern copyright. So you want to be careful with any protected information that you're not putting it in there, because it's going to use that information again. And so what you give it as your prompts and as the source material is important. That's a place we see people make mistakes, but mostly it's you saying, here, I'm a HR director getting ready to roll out a AI policy, and I would like to see an example of an AI policy that is lighthearted and still protects our organization from privacy and confidentiality and copyright issues. And I'd like the policy to be under a page. And 4 seconds later, you'll have something that you could begin with as an example.
Yes, I think that's brilliant. And information that's out in the public domain, and that's one of the things to teach your team members is, if it's confidential firm information or client information, we don't upload that into ChatGPT. If it's out in the public domain, then we can, talk about whether we want to be able to enter it. Once it's out there, though, it's out there. That's what you have to decide. And so there's probably some leadership conversations, to be asking for. But those, general prompts, you can ask, what should I consider as I onboard a new client? Like maybe a manager is working on onboarding for clients. Like that would be a great start to be asking those questions. What is in there and what kind of information can it give back to you, from a place to be able to use that. Also, I think your managers and staff would love to know what kind of AI is in the tools you're already using, and how do we harness the power of that more? Are we letting them play with it? Can we try it? How are we coordinating that with the IT department? And, we've talked about this before, but sometimes our IT department, in their effort to protect us, can be restrictive. And so we have to say, how could we pilot some of this AI that is already in the tools that they have, some of the tax software, or, the data management software, or your where you're storing information, or like Jen said, Copilot. But how could we try a few things and see how we could begin to use it and have it talk to each other? We're using Monday.com. We're implementing that right now, and we're excited. And I know our team is excited about how that's going to talk to different applications that we already have, so that we can be, fully coordinated with each other. But that's another place that we could just go try some things with AI that you already have. May or may not be enabled. It might be doing things you don't even realize, or that they don't even realize because we haven't dug into it. But that's another place to say, what do we maybe already have that we could be trying, and try it on a few clients, or try it on a few projects, or, figure out a way to, divide it up, but how could we test it?
And we're not as worried, Tamera and I don't think we're wringing our hands over here about you using it. Like, we think most firm leaders have had access to at least ChatGPT, have played in it, you got exposed at a conference, or you heard from your peers, or read about it in a trade journal, and you're using it. We are more concerned about, like, your technical leaders in the business. I went to digital CPA conference in December, and it's, I felt like most of the people there were using it and talking about it, but at Engage in June, hardly anybody was using it. And we did some discussion and exercise around it. People signed up for their accounts while we sat at the tables. And that was exciting to me that they were signing up, but it was a little scary to me because these were not staff members necessarily. They were partners and managers and senior managers in firms inside, audit and tax and CAS and, advisory groups and inside wealth management groups, and they weren't playing with it. And they were a little bit like, yeah, I'll just wait till my firm tells me, how we're going to use it, what we're going to use. And of course, if they don't have permission, if they've been told don't use it, we're not trying to say use it.
Right.
But if there's allowance for using it, we're worried that there are people who are losing the opportunity to refine their own skills because prompts and the query prompts, it's a skill to use them and to use them well and to get better data from those and to build on these prompts. And so anyway, it's just we feel like we're a little nervous. I'm less nervous about the magic of AI than I am accounting professionals and leaders lagging in AI. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yes.
That's why we're talking about it again today, because we think as HR leaders, you've got to make sure that people realize all levels need to get in there and play. And maybe at a firm meeting, there's probably some fun things you could do, scavenger hunts and that kind of stuff. Maybe instead of that, some sort of innovation exercise where you build teams and you go and you see like the best possible thing you could produce, the most valuable, funnest thing you could produce out of a ChatGPT prompt. And
Jen, what about that managing partner that did her fun intro as a pirate? Could we talk about that? Because she used ChatGPT they did a theme, superhero theme, and she was doing a kickoff, and she wanted to have it, kick off with that kind of language and lingo. And I think it was a pirate. Was it a pirate? It might have been something. Whatever her superhero theme was, she said, "Give me an intro. This is what I want to say." A knight. That's what it was.
I was like, I didn't know the pirate reference.
It was medieval. Like,
sure, medieval. We can talk about it, but you're going to be the one talking about it.
No, it was medieval.
Yes, it was medieval language. Yes.
And so it came back and gave her whole introduction in medieval, jargon and lingo and, accent and context and all of that. And we just thought that was, so much fun that she was out playing with it and demonstrating, told them, hey, ChatGPT, help me with this in my whole setup. And, we talked about Gen Z last week or a couple of weeks ago, recently in the HR Huddle. And that's, one of the reasons, we want to make sure firm leaders are playing with it and ask them how they're using it. They have access to it, they're talking about it. And so, again, the technology, they are, technology ready. They were born with it in their hands. And so if we're not embracing it and learning about it, it's not very motivating to say, hey, we are a future ready, future focused firm, but we're not doing that. So you can make it fun. I love that example, Jen. It's like, how can we make it fun? How can we play with it and be silly and, make it okay? So.
Yeah, well, so Tamera, Samantha pulled this statistic for our webinar Friday, and she says, it's about generational use of technologies, and ChatGPT is the 18th most globally visited website by kids. It's 32nd in the US, but they're going to grow up with it. It's in school, they're using it. Sort of like, I guess, Google or iPads or whatever it is that was, my kids might have been using. These kids are all exposed to ChatGPT. So like, even if you're on the older side and thinking, how can I escape this one? If you want to relate to your grandkids or those people will make all kinds of inventions based on AI.
Yes.
That we have to use in our daily work, I promise. So, or our daily lives. So anyway, HR, let's figure out how to enable this. As Tamera said at the top of the hour, let's figure out how we can encourage it and put some boundaries on it, but make it a sandbox and play with it, and then figure out how it can become part of daily use. And I'm kicking myself about that movie example. I really did waste time later thinking, sweetie, it's kind of like walking down the street to get somebody's address number instead of just Googling it. It was a very low tech way of doing it. And anyway, I think
And that's
the
so
more
funny to say that Google was low tech, like when we
it
rolled up,
was too,
it
by
was,
the way. So no, I mean, and Google, by the way, has their own AI. So I'm not
yes,
negative about it. It's called
yes.
Gemini, and we're probably all going to be
That's just
using it
funny.
too. But yes, their search engine was not the fastest way to do what I was trying to do, and I would have gotten actually a beautiful summary I could have just emailed to my kids
Right.
instead of like the linky mess that I sent them instead. But anyway.
Yes.
Let's try to play with it more. And Tamara and I both want to hear from you.
Yes.
How are you using it? And then also, how are your technical leaders empowering and encouraging and using it? We want to
Yeah.
hear that. And we need to amplify those messages for sure. And
Yeah.
we'll have more. We'll have more as we evolve in our use. And I'm sure, uh, we'll find some exciting, cool things to do with it together.
Yeah. Share with us your examples, please. We look forward to it. And in the meantime, have a great week, and we will see you next week on HR Huddle. Thanks for being with us today.